Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my TBR for October 2022. This month's a little different. I usually pick a really ambitious reading list and then assume that I'm not going to get to all of them. This month, and I'll talk about this more in my upcoming Incomplete Series Challenge video, but I've got myself on a reading schedule. So I've been trying to mood read. I've been trying to change my natural tendencies of reading, but I finally realized that I'm just too structured of a person to do that. So I'm leaning into it completely. I've got a reading schedule. I've got a way to predict how quickly I'll get through the books. And yeah, so everything on this list, theoretically, I should be able to read within this month. Anyway, to that end, my only physical read for the month is going to be House of Chains by Steven Erikson, book 4 in the Malazan series. And I've already started it. And it's funny, part of my new system is being able to track how quickly I read things. I was averaging about 40 pages a day. Pick up a Malazan book, I'm averaging 14 pages a day. So it's so dense. This one is less dense than the first two books easily, but I'm still finding that I need to take the time with it to really absorb all the names, all the places. It just takes a lot more concentration than normal. I'm planning on it taking the full 31 days in October, but I'm at the rate that I'm going, it's probably going to be well into November before I finish it, but that's okay. I'm enjoying it so far. Kind of a tangent from what we've seen so far, but really what storyline isn't in the Malazan world. So yeah, enjoying that one. But because I'm reading Malazan and I just finished another kind of heavier fantasy novel, I was going to pick up a sci-fi next, but I kind of needed a break. And at my library, Legends and Lattes became available, and you know, I hear it's the perfect palate cleanser. So I'm actually in the middle of that one right now, taking a couple days away from my schedule for an impulse read, and I'm really liking it. Okay, so here's the thing, this is not revolutionary storytelling, but I love renovation shows. I love cooking shows. I love seeing people run a business and kind of grow things over time and be successful. That stuff is incredibly satisfying to me. So this is giving me kind of what other shows have given me. So if you like HGTV and Food Network, you probably will like this story with a fantasy twist. Super cute so far. And after that on the docket, I have Children of Ruin by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's the second book in the Children of Time series. Now, seeing as Children of Time is my favorite read of the year so far, and it made my very conservative list of all-time favorites, I'm not expecting the second one to wow me in the same way. I'm going in with very moderate expectations. But even so, I love this author. I love the way he composes stories. I love some of the intelligent decisions that he makes. I love the knowledge base he has beyond the books that he brings to the books, like psychology and zoology, all of that super fun. So I can't wait to read this one. I initially had it further back on the list, say November, but I realized that I am most excited to discover more from this author above all others, and so I needed to kind of rearrange things to get more of his works in front of me sooner. So can't wait. For Patreon Book Club, Jade City was elected the winner for the month of October, and I've been hanging on to this one for a while and really excited to start it. I don't think I've come across any reviews or content where someone didn't at least appreciate the book. I love Asian inspiration in books, I love low fantasy, I love politicking in books, and so I think this is going to be really up my alley. And because I'm working so hard to not start new series, this is a perfect pick for Patreon Book Club, because that's the one place in my life that I'm allowing the new series to come trickling in, other than Read Burn Hoard. For Project YA, pretty sure I'm picking up the Etiquette and Espionage book series. It's actually the Finishing School series, and I think there's 6 or 7 books in it. And depending on how this one goes, I may go through and read more than just one. It'll kind of screw up my schedule a little bit, but yeah, it just depends on how much fun I'm having with it. I like the idea for the story. If I'm going to read a YA, I like the ones that are kind of intrigue and politicking and, girls in pretty dresses kind of thing. I started this one near the beginning of the year, about the time when I was starting to get buried with a ton of books going at once, and set it down simply because I didn't have the time to pick it up. but I liked what I read so far. I read maybe 3 or 4 chapters. Pretty good. It helps that this author also writes adult fantasy, so I always find I like the YA with the adult fantasy writers because their world building is just a lot more rich. They're used to talking to an older audience, and they kind of infuse that into their young adult stories, so bodes well. Very high priority for me. I'm making my way through the Faithful and the Fallen series. Ruin is book 3 of 4. I enjoyed the first one immensely. The second one was really good. I can't wait to see this one. Someone in the comments last month wrote, Ruin. Yeah, that's what it did to me, so brace yourself. For me, this is a very character-driven series and has a lot of really good moments and it makes you feel like it's such a page-turner. I mean, it's a chonker of a book, but you feel like you're flying through it because things progress within each POV so often. And yeah, I just love it. I can't wait to see where it goes. I mean, if I didn't have such an amazing lineup, I would say I was most anticipated for this one this month, but I mean, I've got a lot of good stuff going. For Read Burn Horde, I'm picking up Howl's Moving Castle. This one's Wizard's Castle. It's a 2-in-1 science fiction book club edition that also has Castle in the Air by Diane Wynne Jones. Now, this is one of those series that I know if I pick it up, I'm probably really going to love it, but I've never felt the desire to bump it up in priority. I don't know what it is about it, and I've also never seen the movies, like Totoro or like that whole genre of movies by the same director. I've never seen those, so I'm thinking if I like the story, I have like an entire genre of things to get into that I'll probably really love, but for some reason I've just never dipped my toe into it. Now, I'm mentioning this from Read Burn Horde because I lost a bunch of footage. The vlogging content where I talked about choosing this one was among that. I'm really not sure how I'm going to go about replacing that. But I thought, you know, it's been really difficult for me to keep track of what to mention and what not. This is the first time I'm mentioning which book I'm picking for Read Burn Horde for the month in my TBR. And I'm wondering if you like that series, would you like me to continue mentioning it, or do you want to keep it as a surprise to see what I pick when you watch the actual video? Which is better? Or do you not care? That works too. That's a completely valid answer. Please let me know. The Last Uncharted Sky by Curtis Craddock. It's book 3 and I believe the final book in the Risen Kingdom series. The first one's called An Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors, and to this day, it is one of the coolest books I've ever read. Like, maybe not the strongest plot or characters, but the overall concept and atmosphere and creativity in the story really sold me. It kind of has like a Three Musketeers angle, but the alchemy aspect is really cool, a kind of a Victorian era thing. But then it takes place in this world with all of these airships that travel between these floating islands, and it's really freaking cool. The second book was good, but it didn't have a lot of meaningful plot points, just 1 or 2 for the whole book. It did not validate the amount of page count for the substance that we got. So I'm hoping this one will swing it back around and give me just as much to latch on to as the first book. Per my incomplete series, I'm really looking forward to checking yet another one off of the list. I've been hanging on to this one for over a year, so can't wait. And last but not least, I need some urban fantasy in my life, so I'm going to pick up the 4th Sookie Stackhouse book, Dead to the World. And I'm going to go into more detail on this in Project Urban Fantasy, but like there are so many things in here that are kind of cringeworthy, but she somehow makes them work because as a writer, she does what we call hanging a lantern on the problems. So she acknowledges that some of these things are issues, and the fact that she acknowledges it makes it work somehow. And it's a writing tool that I love, but I've never seen it applied so well. She is totally embracing where the story is going, and I find myself on board. She is also one of the most brilliant character developers that I've met. Sookie is got so much interesting depth, even though she's such kind of an airhead character. And I don't know how the author does it. I mean, she's just such an intelligent writer. And I was not expecting to get that much insight and appreciation for writing elements from a random urban fantasy series. But I can completely see why this one is so popular and why it got turned into a show and why so many people love it. Like, so many things done well here, especially compared to other urban fantasies on the market. Now, from a storyline standpoint, it's not my favorite, but I'm still enjoying the ride. And this is my lineup. This seems like a ton of books to me, but I've done the math, and I should be able to read all of them this month. And I think the key here is that with my new system, I can only pick up one book at a time, one physical and one audio. And like when I'm only focusing on one of these at a time, I'm actually quite a fast reader. When I do what I usually do, which is bounce around between 3 or 4 of them, then it takes me like the entire month to get through 3 or 4 of them. I lose momentum. Now, if only I can get my total overall series down to just a few, then I feel like I'd have the same momentum within the same series. But yeah, that's a work in progress. It's going to take me at least a year. Anyway, are you excited for my lineup? Is there anything in here that you've read that you've absolutely loved? Love to hear about it. And I want to know what's on your TBR for this month. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.